everybody. Hope you're all alright. Please let me know that you can hear me okay. It's been a good while since I've done one of these. It's a little bit, I don't know, I feel a little bit nervous tonight actually. I see quite a lot of you are on already, so, let me just change my chat to live chat because it seems to default to top chat all the time. Good. Super duper. Hi Paul, hi Wayne, hi Brian, hi Steve, hi Buster. Hello Hugh and Jennifer and Mick. Di's in, David's in. Colin. Who else have I spotted earlier? I think that's most... Oh, Martin's in. Oh, thank you, Hugh. Miss Beth, oh, thank you for joining me live. That's brilliant. Good evening, Trevor, as well. Hello, Ian and Bruce and Rubadub and Mr. Pat Carroll. Good evening, and Fred. Hello, Helen. Hi, Todd. You made it after all. Thank you for coming along. Colin, Jason, Tom, Kevin. Yeah, it's absolutely chucking it down here as well. I'm surprised you can't hear it on the roof. Nomable 7, good evening. Good, I'm glad the audio's okay. It seems to work sometimes and not others, so I'm very relieved to hear that. Good evening, Yalcin. I hope I've said that right, and Mark and David. Lots and lots of people on. That's good. 63. So I was a little bit torn about what to do tonight, and because basically I don't know if I can stream next Saturday, which I was hoping to, because I had quite a few ideas for next Saturday, but because I'm unsure, I am going to do one of my little Esmeralda kits, and we're going to do a little bit of colouring, we're going to do a little bit of gilt cream work, which I need to get out actually. There we go, although I might use gold. So yeah, it should be a pretty fun evening anyway. Hello Anthony and Philip. Yeah guys, get your thumbs up. It all helps towards the channel, helps me get a little bit of a better reach. I've got all sorts to tell you tonight as well. I've had quite an epic few days, and it's all led on from the last time actually I was going to do a live and wasn't in the right headspace. There was all sorts going on, so sometimes you find that when you're in a sort of a bit of a, not a negative spiral, but you're in a bit of a slump, shall we say, it can often kick off quite an important thought process, and it certainly has done that. So I've got loads of stuff to tell you, and I'm really excited about it, but I'll just wait a little while longer before I start to let you know. And I would like a little bit of feedback as well, guys, if that's okay. I've got a few things to ask you about. Just one or two little changes or adjustments I'm thinking of making. So it's really nice to be on here again, I have to say. I'm hoping that it's not brilliant. My iPad is not behaving very well, so the internet keeps dropping out, so I've just had a massive surge of messages on the side. So let me just read through the chat. Hang on a second. Steve, yeah, I saw that comment. A giant Christopher Lee. Yeah, we'll just carve one of those out. That would be pretty cool. I have got a couple of other things that I want to do following on from this evening, but again, that's all to come. So yes, don't keep you all in suspenders. Steve, I've got to still figure out what on earth to do with that chunk of wood as well. Thank you very much for dropping that off. I really need to have a good think about that, and I will do a live with it 100%. It just will be in a little while. So yeah, it needs some planning, does that. Oh, somebody else in from the US. I need to call Jurgen Klopp and ask him to put the Liverpool match. These people should know. It's, you know, they just should be cancelling football. Everything should be cancelled until I've finished my live, basically. Oh, Kurt's here. Hello. It's really nice to see you. It's now, you see, you couldn't make it last time either, so it was all worth it. So yeah, we cancelled it just for you, Kurt, because of the hurricane. Ooh, someone's got a new lathe. Yeah, I don't know what to do about next week, but I will let you know as soon as possible if I am going to be able to do another live. I'm really, really, really hoping so, but sometimes circumstances don't allow, so we will see. We will see. Right, I am just going to have a quick check and make sure that I've got everything I need, so I'll keep popping backwards and forwards to read the chat. Oh, thanks, Kurt. Do you know what? I'm really, really glad to be back. I've really missed doing the YouTubes. I really, really enjoy doing the YouTubes, so it's lovely to be back on, I have to say. They're just such a lot of fun. Buster, he tried to come and collect it the other week. He came with a lump of wood under the guise of dropping this piece of wood off, but really, I think he was just sizing the joint up to see where would be the best like exit points and stuff. I know that's really what was going on. Hiya, Steve. The Christmas ornaments you've been making recently, Steve, have been stunning. Absolutely gorgeous. Really nice. Hello, Dan. Very nice to see you. And Stuart. Guy Ritchie movie in the making. I think it could be. Oh, Gouge one. I've had a huge tidy up in the workshop the last few days and rearranged all sorts of stuff, so there's less clutter behind me for once. You can actually see things, which I always find a little bit unnerving. Normally it's packed full of stuff, so. And I've got all sorts of things in the pipeline to try and make a little bit more space because it's something that I am short of. Hi Emma, it's raining. Raining in Spain. There you go. Oh man, it's just catching up on chat again. I'm well behind. Where are we? Oh right, so you've been out foraging for wood, Kurt. Fair enough, I suppose storms are useful for that over there. We don't very rarely get storms that bad over here, so we can't really forage that much. The lathe escape. Lock, stock and one missing lathe. Oh dear. Oh dear. Right, I need power for this and somewhere to put that. I think that's, I think I've got everything I need. I've got lacquer over there. I've got my gilt creams, I've got my finishers. I need to remember what I'm doing. Have I got any lights in there? What colour lights shall we use this evening? I think I'm going to go purple. Brilliant. Oh, there you go, John. We're on the same wavelength. Excellent. Graham at Grandpa's workshop. Yeah, that's very true. The more space you have, the more you fill it. It's definitely true. Oh yeah, the birds. They are going to be something. One of I'm going to be doing some big blocks. But I got them not that long ago really, but they need processing, and I'd snapped my bandsaw blade, so I've got a new blade, and I can start cutting those up now for the blocks that I need them for. Purple laser shock. I was actually going to use just a plain white. I've tried it with green and it looks a little bit weird. I wasn't keen on it, so I'm going to give it a go with the purple. Hiya David, are you alright? Yeah, red's another one. Because my figure's going to be green, or partly green, so I need to be careful with the lights that I use. John, the resin I use is Alumilite. I use Alumilite clear and Alumilite clear slow, so it's the urethane resins. I really like working with the urethanes. The epoxies, personally, I don't get on with them as well. But that really is just personal preference. There's all sorts of reasons behind it, but yeah, I prefer the urethanes. Hello, Steve and Jim and Keith. Oh dear, somebody broke that. Hello, Bernie, and thank you. Hello, Kristen. For you guys who don't know, Kristen is an amazing photographer, and I watched one of the IRDs that Pat and her did very recently, Pat Carroll, and it was superb about photographing your work, and it's blown my mind. So I've been experimenting with bits and pieces already. So thank you very much for all that info, and thanks for the info that was sent through earlier today as well. I need to send you a message because I'm wanting to order one of your prints. I want it on metal, but it's not available on the site yet, so I need to talk to you about that. But yeah, I will be in touch. John, does the urethane resin chip? Yeah, it can chip. You've got to have your tools extremely sharp and just apply them very, very carefully when you're turning. So don't fire into it. You can't fire into it like you can with timber. Really nice gentle cuts. Otherwise, it does it plucks out the chips from the surface, and you get all sorts of little dips in it. But if you cut gently and your tools are sharp, you won't have any problem with it. And I personally find that it finishes a lot better because of my method of finishing. And whereas if you there's nothing wrong with the epoxy. Epoxy you can get a better shine on with sort of a cheaper way of finishing it. So that's why a lot of people do prefer the epoxy. But I'm urethane all the way. This necklace, it's I can never say it. Is it dichroic glass? I think that's how you say it. And I bought this years and years ago. The camera doesn't do it any justice. It's really multicolored. It's stunning stuff. I love it. And I bought it. I bought it a few years ago. I can't remember where from. But I like my slightly unusual jewellery. Casper's not even here yet. You just can't get the staff. You're all saying hello to him and he's not even here. He's not even making me cuppers either, because like I've got this nearly cold one that I'm sipping to finish it. So don't be all saying hello to him yet when he's not even here. Yeah, negative rate carbides, and a lot of people do use them for the resin. I am a traditional tool fan all the way though. That's the trouble. I know, Colin, I should sack him, but there's nobody else who can come up. We're on lockdown as well, so I can't have anybody else up here to take his place at the moment. He doesn't like the rain. He dissolves in the rain. PG tips? What? I'm a tea snob, Steve. PG. It's a good job you didn't bring a box of PG tips with you over week. You'd have been shown the door. If I'd have been conscious anyway. That was real. I'm right. It was unfortunate timing, and I'm sorry about that. I was asleep because I was working nights, and I don't even do that all afternoon, but every afternoon. But some afternoons, especially if I've been woken up early by postman coming and braying on door or whatever, I end up going back to sleep in afternoon. So yeah, sorry about that. Hello Julia, don't worry about it because there hasn't been any lives recently, so you've not missed any. Yeah, exactly, Dan. Yorkshire tea all the way, and I must admit I am Yorkshire Gold as well. Although I really like the Yorkshire biscuit tea, that's really tasty, and I've been a little bit obsessed with that recently. I did try the bedtime one, which is a decaf tea, and is awful. It's just absolutely vile. So I had one tea bag out of the box, and the box has been put to the side where it will remain until, I don't know, probably survive a nuclear winter. Hello Corey, very nice to see you. Hope you're well too. No, I haven't asked him about parking tea yet. Either, if you like the bedtime one, I'll send it to you, because I think it's vile. I think I managed 2 sips of it, and it was like, it's not for me. So I'll send you it. Give me your address, and I really will send you it, because I hate wasting stuff. I might have to turn the heating up in here a little bit. It's a bit on the chilly side. Excuse me, I'm sorting the heating out. I am not being rude. That one at that, and we'll have that one at that. And we'll put that on Do Not Disturb. Brilliant. Right, well, seeing as there's only a few minutes to go until we start, I haven't even got a stem centre in the chuck yet. Oh, you see, IDR wood turning knows what it's all about. It's got to be Yorkshire tea. It's got to be. It's the best tea in the world. I spoke to an electrician, Bernie, and basically waiting for him to come. We have an issue that Roy's got a shield, so we can't have anybody coming in doing any work. But I have spoken to him, and they said it should be doable. We just need to wait a few more weeks. So, yes. There's a number in the snowman video. I'm gonna have to. Oh right, because of the back. Yeah, it's the radiators. I've got electric heaters in here as well as the log burner, because unless it's really cold, the log burner's like massively overkill and I'd be sweating buckets. And plus, we try and be as fair as we can on our neighbours by not kind of overusing the burner. The heaters, when it's cold, like properly cold, don't cut it, they won't heat it fully. They are excellent ones, but yeah, the numbers on the what look like black screens are the temperature of the room. So Peter from sunny Lincolnshire. Oh, Todd's on English breakfast. I'll have to send you some Yorkshire tea over across the pond, Todd. Definitely. Lincolnshire Pete. Oh, hello, Harvey. Yeah, Yorkshire Gold. You see, Yorkshire's taking over the world. Harvey's got a Tiny Turner mug as well, so he knows how to make Yorkshire parking. Or I hope you have, because I sent that out to you months ago. So he's having Yorkshire Gold in his Yorkshire tea. Good man. There you go. He knows. Oh yeah, guys, Hugh today has posted a little video, that's Wouldn't It Be Nice, on the chat, and he's been on YouTube now for a year, celebrating a year today, and fair play to you, Hugh. He's done one video a week. It was his 52nd video today. I take my hat off. I haven't got a hat on, so I'll take my glasses off to you, Hugh, because I've no idea how long I've been on YouTube, and I think we've managed about 4 weeks. Yeah, we managed 4 videos in about 8 years or something. So yeah, that's really, really awesome, and your videos are lovely, Hugh. So please bob over there and have a look, guys, as well. Right, so we are nearly at past, so I might as well start telling you some of the exciting news. Top of the list, guys. I'm finally going to be starting doing courses. So a lot of you will know that at the start of this year, in February, I left driving to go full-time at doing woodwork, the wood turning side of things. I've been working hard on this for years and years and building my business up, and I thought, right, I've got enough demos and enough work on that I can go full-time. Superb. Let me just move that tiny bit. And so I finished driving, started to do it, and then of course the entire world got the plague, and everything went wrong. Sod's Law, I believe it's called. So that put the brakes on with regards to me doing lessons, because I had lessons and courses planned, etc, etc. But now I am really, really chuffed to say that in starting from February next year, I am going to be starting doing some courses. There are a couple available to pre-book on the website. I am going to be offering gift vouchers as well, but at this moment in time I would need you to contact me if that's the case, because I'm waiting for the actual physical voucher certificates to come through, and they are going to be 2 or 3 weeks yet. So please get in touch if you are interested. But we're going to be offering half days and full days. So it's going to be in Yorkshire, so close to home. It's not going to be obviously at my home, but it's not going to be far away. More details will be available soon once everything is absolutely finalised. But yeah, definitely taking bookings and stuff and doing both half days and full days. Initially, it's going to be more geared towards beginner turning or people wanting to improve their skills, whether it's looking at spindle work, ball work, or a combination of both, which we'd go through in a full day. So yeah, have a look on the website if you are interested, because I have been contacted by a lot of people over lockdown wanting to know about availability of courses. So yes, there you go. Finally we are going to get there. So I will, as I say, I will release more information soon. But the good news is the venue is extremely close to Mirfield train station. So if you are not somebody who can drive or wants to drive a long way, it's got fantastic, a fantastic rail network. So there's possibilities there. So that's one thing. Secondly, obviously you guys know that I've got my little shop at thetinyturner.co.uk. Because I know that a lot of you very kindly buy from there, and I've started to offer a point system. I've been looking for something to... Is it not? Oh, there we go. Hang on a second, guys. Why is that not working? Oops. There we go. Don't know why that happened.
You can see my hand.
That's done it. We're okay. Sorry, technical hitch. We are back up and running now. So yeah, I've started to offer a point system, and basically I've been looking for something for quite a while to just kind of allow me to give back to you guys, which is why I ran the birthday giveaway and was offering the 10% off. Well, this point system basically means that every time you spend some money, you'll bank points, and then when they reach 500 points, you'll get a £5 voucher. But you do have to sign up to the website. You're not going to get spammed with any emails or anything like that. I don't even do newsletters, so you don't need to worry about getting unwanted emails or anything along those lines. But if you sign up to the site, you should be able to see when you log in the bottom left hand corner of the screen that there is like a little rewards area, like a little oval shape with it says rewards, and the reward scheme's making shavings, so it will tell you more about it on there. So if you are going to buy anything, make sure that you're logged in so that you can collect your points. If there's any problems, I can adjust them manually, so give me a shout, because it is a new thing. It's something that I'd hoped that would have been sorted out when they rebooted the website previously, but what they didn't tell us was it was all like separate sections that we had to add ourselves, and yeah, it's only just gotten active today, so there you go. A bit of memory. So I will turn that off. So that's courses and points, and lastly, I think, and this is where I need some feedback for you guys as well, if you wouldn't mind. I'm considering offering a subscription, what's the word? Subscription, whatever. Platform, that's the one, something like that. Basically, so because I want to concentrate on my YouTube channel a little bit more. I really, really enjoy the YouTube side of things, as you guys know. I love spending time with you all. I like the interaction that comes back. I like that it's a lot of fun. So I'm hoping that I can expand a little bit more. So this is only in the very kind of early stages of me thinking about. I've been thinking about it for a long, long time, but I am very conscious about trying to give people value for money, and I appreciate that if people do subscribe to a channel, then there needs to be the content, etc. So I would really, really like to hear your feedback, whether it's something that people will be interested in, whether it's something that you think, no, I've done it before, I've never done it myself, so I don't really know whether or not it's something that works. But yeah, it's something that I'm considering, so that I can give people a much better experience on YouTube, as well as than just the lives kind of thing. So please let me know your thoughts. Either bob it into the chat box, or you can bob me a message via the website or via Facebook or the page, whatever. There's all sorts of things. But yeah, please do let me know what your thoughts and considerations are, or any concerns that you might have as well. Anything that you might have come up against in the past. But it's just a way that I'm hoping that I can try and build the channel and really kind of get it a nice experience to be a part of the channel and offer a lot more. So there you go. We should really get on with the demo. Okay, so this evening, I forgot to get... Hang on. Oh, don't worry.
Well, I can't change this. I can't change Yeah, it's on 22.
Turn it off and turn it on again.
I've only just connected this up there. Have you checked any of this?
No, I thought that you'd done it.
Yeah, well it's come out.
Alright, okay. Let's have a look. Yeah, we're all good. We're all good. Okay. So. Oh, I'm glad that you enjoyed that, Richard. That's good news. I'm glad you enjoyed the evening. I certainly did. I haven't got any club demos now till November or something. Or yeah, I think it's November. Plus the driving side of things is going to take off soon as well. So that's another reason I wanted to talk to you all about the idea of the subscriptions and stuff. Right. So this evening we are going to be. Are you up and running? Do you want to change to that one then? We are going to be making a little Esmeralda house. So this is one of my... This is one of the new kits that I've just sort of started to offer. It's been in the pipeline for ages. I've just not actually got on with it. So we will we'll make a start. I'm not going to do it quite the same. As you can see, we've got like a little bit of a mushroom thing, and although I quite like it for this one, I'm going to try something a little bit different tonight. So we are going to turn a different base and a different top. It's just a bit of fun. I'm going to see if it works out. And I'm also interested because I want to make sure that the size of the timber works, because we can't always get branch wood. It seems to be getting a little bit more difficult to get hold of. So that's why I'm wanting to kind of move away from the branch wood and have a go at experimenting with something slightly different. So it's just a little bit of fun. We've got Halloween coming up just round the corner, and it's something that's not just a pumpkin. As you guys may be aware or may not be aware, I do little pumpkin boxes, which I really do love doing those. And in the background behind me, oh no, I've moved them all so you can't see, but I've got about 6 of them that I've got to try and finish before Halloween. So there we go. There we go. So that's what we're making this evening. Now I'm not going to make it quite as complicated because it's got all sorts of little sort of parts in there. Oh, let's turn the lights on so you can see it lit up actually. Ta-da, there we go. So those are with the little white lights, but we're going to go for purple tonight. But one of the problems that it's taken me a while to get these kits out is because I've been trying to find components for it. It's not been the easiest thing to do, and I didn't want it very fairy-ish, so I think I've managed to do that now. So you will see all the bits and pieces as we go through the evening. I've got that stuck. Oh, we're not doing mushrooms. We're not doing mushrooms. Forget it. Just forget it, alright? That was probably the low point in my career, even if it's the funniest for you guys. No, I'm only joking. It was an amusing... Oh, hello, Leona. It was an amusing demonstration. So, I am trying to basically see whether or not the wood stock that I have in is going to be of use to do these particular little kits, fairy kits and the witch house kits, because like I've just said, it's not always as easy to get branch wood at the moment. I don't know why, but I can't seem to get hold of it. Those pieces of laburnum that I did the Hairy Mary the COVID fairy out of, and Esmeralda, when I did that as a practice run, were the last pieces of laburnum that I had. Now I've recently got some more yew, but it's a little bit on the big side. It's about 5 inch in diameter and it's just a little bit too big. Yeah, it's gorgeous. So another demo that's going to cost you money. Well, you'll get points, Julia, so, and then you'll end up with a £5 voucher, so it's not that terrible. Yeah, I've left the mushroom video up. I couldn't not really, could I? It's still there. So if anyone who's new to the channel and not seen me demonstrate before, a few weeks ago in the middle of lockdown, I decided it would be a really great idea to do some mushroom turning. And I'm not going to go into it any further other than it turns out a lot of the regulars who are on the chat are, well, they've got suspicious senses of humour. And most people never actually saw the whole demo because apparently they were just crying with laughter. So I left it up there for your entertainment, much to my embarrassment.
Infamy.
Yes. Yes, you've got to be grown up and behave. I'm not doing a mushroom, Jeff. Honestly. Right, forget it. So I've got a piece of ash. It's 5-inch square, 2 inches deep. So it's the same size that I basically use for my snowmen. Again, I would show you one, but I have tidied everything up, and whenever I tidy everything up, I never know when anything is. Oh, hello, Jeff. Oh, Mr. Hornung is on. Very nice to see you. For you guys who aren't following Jeff's channel is the Walnut Log. And a little while ago, he was pretty much doing a live stream every Wednesday evening, for us guys anyway. Yeah, really, really informative. Very, very informative, actually. I watched quite a few of them. I managed to join in quite a few, so be sure to go over and check out the Walnut Log because Jeff's just lovely. And we had a Zoom date not that long ago, and it was just really, really nice. We were chatting for like 2 hours, and he's just the best. So please bob over and check out Jeff's channel as well. Ah, I know what he's talking about with the pumpkin rings. Yeah, exactly. Oh, hello, Nick. You alright? Flaming Turner, are you on tonight in a little while as well? I should imagine so. Right, I can't keep up with the chat, so let's actually get some turning done. Right, so 5-inch square, 2 inches deep. I'm between steb centres at the moment. Starting with my 1/4-inch bowl gouge. I've just seen Steve as well, Temple Boy Turnings, and Wayne. Just keep moving that in as that gap builds up, and at the same time I am going to turn the speed up a little bit. The more it trues up, the more stable it's becoming. Whether that's trued up and move that in a little bit more. And for this particular project, I am going to try and keep it fairly straight sided, and I'm going to try and keep it fairly flat at the top, basically because I'm considering offsetting glass section of it. Previously with the one that I showed you earlier, the wood wouldn't really allow it being offset because it wasn't quite wide enough, so I couldn't move it around that much. It was plumb in the centre. But I'm going to just try and offset it, and I may be adding some little bits and pieces to it, but not tonight, but later. So that's why I'm going to keep it fairly straight. Turn it up a little bit.
My switch is not working, so...
Okay. Okay, so we've got quite a bit of tear out on the grain, so we need to clean that up. We're not going to be turning a shape in this at all, so I'm going to clean this up straight away, and that's going to stay cleaned up. So instead of turning at 90 degrees to the wood, I'm going to come to 45 degrees, get lots of bevel rubbing, turn the flute so it's facing about 10 o'clock, and just take a nice gentle cut across the surface. 2 or 3 cuts, 2 should do it. It's not particularly bad, isn't the tear out. But yeah, we're gonna cut that across and just get rid of as much as possible. Let's reduce that sanding requirement. So just moving the chisel really slowly across the surface of the timber. And this is also allowing me to try and keep it as parallel as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the closer the better, really. Okay. Now I've already decided which I want the top and the bottom to be, because we've got this little bit of bark basically that's been left. So I want to get rid of that. That's going to be the base. So I'm going to put a spigot or a tenon at the top, which is going to be towards the headstock size, and we'll then put that into the lathe. Just bear with me 2 seconds, guys.
It keeps connecting and it'll work once, twice, and it won't work.
Right. Just having a bit of a wobble on technology.
No, it'll
No,
work
it's fine.
sometimes and it won't.
It's because the Wi-Fi is so bad in here.
Alright.
And it keeps dropping out constantly. There you go. Okay. Hopefully we're back on track. So, I'm going to take a feeding parting chisel and I'm going to cut down the face, the top face or the headstock side. Now it's a little bit out of true, but it's not much. I'd say that it's about 1/8 of an inch out, 2 mil, 3 mil roughly. So I'm not going to bother truing it up. We're just going to cut a spigot or a tenon on here that's about 1/4 of an inch in depth or so. Now this ash is nice and it's cutting really cleanly, so it's allowing me to do that full cut in one. I'm not having to worry too much about the depth of cut that I'm taking. Whereas with some timbers it's gonna fight you a little bit, so we're gonna go for 1/4 of an inch spigot, and then we can get that straight into the chuck. I have chamfered it or dovetailed it ever so slightly. I don't technically need to with these jaws, but because I do have chucks with different types of jaws that aren't parallel inside, like the sea jaws of the Axminster chucks. These have got a little lip around the top, which is what gives you your grip. I always tend to put a dovetail on just in case. But if you do that, be careful you don't over chamfer it, because if you over chamfer it, it won't allow that little lip around the edge to actually dig into the tenon, and that, because that's what gives you your strength. So we can now turn the underside of the blank. I'm going to turn this away pretty much. I'm going to get rid of most of it. I am going to spray this black, so I'm not too fussed about it being there, but it's quite deep, is this. Now with the snowmen, I'll just grab one. With the snowmen, even though it's still a 5-inch square blank that's 2 inches deep, these guys have got a tapered side to them, so it makes the blank look a little bit less chunky. It just takes some of the weight out of the top, and it balances really nicely with the whole piece. So the 2-inch depth with this works fine. I'm not sure that the 2 inches depth with this one is going to be quite as effective, but we'll give it a shot. We'll see where we are with it. So we'll get that tailstock right out of the way. We'll come round with the tool rest, lock all that off, and go back to the 1/4-inch ball gouge, and we'll true this off to start with, take a little bit of the depth out of it, and then we'll put in the recess, which is going to act as both a chucking point and it's going to fit the battery case in. So it's a very similar kind of method as to making the snowmen. See you later, Nick. I've just seen you've gone. Enjoy your demonstration this evening. And has anybody asked any questions so far? All right, never mind. Wivey and Steve are clearly just plotting to steal the lathe and apparently make a movie about it too. They've been deciding on, while you weren't in here, I'm just telling Casper and catching him up to where we're at. Steve Ash is plotting with a few of the other guys, and there's been various film titles or movie titles that they're going to call the movie they're going to make when they come and steal the lathe.
So they know how scary you are.
We've got lock, stock and one missing lathe, which I quite like.
You're gonna get a job with
the lathe escape, and I can't remember the others.
We've got some ducks.
So while I'm doing this boring bit, guys, please make sure that if you are enjoying this video, or if you enjoy my videos in general, give us a thumbs up. It just helps YouTube get it seen a little bit more. Feel free to subscribe to the channel so that you know when the videos are coming up. And give us a share. Either the channel or a video you might like, give us a share. Because it all helps. Now I've just made the underside of this ever so slightly concave, so that when it's finished, it will sit around the outside edge. That means that if the wood warps, and it will warp ever so slightly, more than likely, we're not going to get any problems with it wobbling, or we're going to reduce the problems of it wobbling. If it's only sitting around that outside edge, the chances are it'll stay pretty much solid. But if you have a very flat base and the wood does move at all, and especially now it's so damp outside, and then you're going to be turning it and taking it into somewhere warm and dry, the chances are it will move. So make sure that you just take it in a little bit, and it'll just allow that to, or reduce that if possible. So I've taken this down a little bit. There's only a tiny area now of the section where the bark is. I'm happy with that. So I've I don't know how much we've taken off. We've probably taken about 1/4 inch off or so. So now I'm just going to start cutting the recess for both rechucking and for putting the battery case in. Pardon? To do that, I'm going to use my straight edge parting chisel. We're just going to go straight in. Now you can measure it if you want. I tend to, because I've turned 1 or 2 of these, shall we say, especially the snowmen, you kind of get used to the diameter it needs to be. And what's important is, not only do we need it wide enough or the correct width so that we can hold it in the chuck on expansion, we also need to fit the battery case in. That's the more important side of things. No, it's not. The chucking is really, but it's pretty important. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a battery case kind of loitering outside the finished piece, not knowing what to do with itself. Now, the battery case wire, the battery cases are about, with the hook and loop tape attached, they're over 1/4 inch thick. They're about 3/8, so I go for between 3/8 and 1/2 inch depth, so that I know that it's not going to protrude out. Now, in the absence of having a scraper of any sort, I'm actually just using the straight edge parting chisel to square off the underneath. It doesn't need to be fancy, you don't need any decoration on here, because you're going to stick over the hook and loop tape with the battery case wire there, so as long as you have it as fairly flat as you can get it, then happy days. Now, don't forget, it doesn't matter which jaws you have for holding on expansion, they do need to be dovetailed, so we need to make sure that we've got a little bit of a chamfer on the inside of that, so that when we bring the chuck, put it onto the chuck on expansion, that it's got something to grip onto. If we just made it parallel, you'd end up that your jaws are basically so your dovetail jaws are going to be butting up against a parallel recess, and they're only going to hold on that very, very outer edge, whereas if you dovetail them quite a bit, it allows them to lock it in place. That is not safe, that can come out, but if you dovetail it so it matches, that's what we're after. Now, before we can move on, we need to make sure we drill the hole in here for the light string of lights to go through. So before we move on and turn it round, I'm just going to take the tailstock stem centre out and replace it with my Jacob's chuck. And we're going to drill a 4mm hole through the base, right bang in the centre, to feed the lights through. Now, do check your LEDs. They are all encased in resin, and sometimes the resin is a little bit on the thick side, so you might end up needing a 5mm bit, but most of the time 4mm is more than adequate. So I'm going to turn the speed down. We're only going to be drilling about 1.25 inches through the wood, so it's not a major thing, but turn your speed down and it'll probably just take a couple of goes to knock that through. Hiya Terry, you alright? Just seen a few other people have arrived as well. Andy's arrived. I haven't seen Rob yet. Hello Rob. So thank you guys for joining us. We're over 200 people now. That's very nice. especially to say I haven't been here for ages. So before I move on any further, I'm just going to unravel these wires ever so slightly so that I can make sure that they fit in that recess, in that hole, which they do just about. So actually have a physical go at fitting them. They fit fine. I'm happy with that. We don't need to go up another size drill bit, so that's okay. Another thing that's worth checking at this point is that your if I move it to that side, you'll see what I'm trying to achieve. You need to make sure that you can fit the battery case in there, you're still able to reach in to operate the lights, and that hole is accessible so that you can pop your lights through there. You don't want it covering over the top because that's going to make things very difficult. So it's going to go to the side. I'm going to make it a little bit deeper actually, because when we do apply the hook and loop tape, we're going to be right on the... Oh no, we're not. We should be fine actually. Yeah, we've got a good... over 1/8 of an inch there, that's fine. Okay. So we'll give this a little bit of a sand up and we'll put some cut and polish on there and some microcrystalline wax on the base, just around this edge, so that we can get that finished, and it's a nice hard wearing finish for the base.
Be aware I can't switch.
Okay.
Just keeps going off.
Oh, I need to sand it first. Not that good. So I've got some 180 and 240 net abrasive. So we're going to just give that a really, really quick dusting over. I'm just going to put the extractor on to try and catch a little bit of dust, so excuse the noise. So that's just sanded to 240, and I'm going to just pop some cut and polish on there, which now will basically finish the sanding process without making loads of dust. So we'll apply this with the lathe stationery. You can put a layer of sanding sealer underneath if you so wish. I tend not to when I'm demoing because it just saves time. So we'll give that a nice good coating, and then we will turn the lathe on. Work that across the surface of the timber, and what we're doing is by moving it across the surface of the timber, the abrasive compound within the wax is breaking down and essentially finishing that sanding process off. It also gives us a really good base. It lays down a fantastic base for applying a wax finish. So that is the point now that I take my microcrystalline wax stick. I'm just going to do it on the outside edge and buff that to a nice shine, and that is our base sorted. So we can now take that out and turn that round and finish truing up that top edge, and then I will also sand this outside edge and we will get that sprayed up and ready to go. So open that up, make sure that it's running as true as we can get it to run. Should be pretty much spot on. And all I'm doing is removing this tenon and just flattening off this top area, as I say, because I want to try and offset this one slightly compared to the ones I've done previously. Now by drilling through from the base to the top, now we can make sure that we've got a really clean finish and no breakout, because we've turned away the breakout caused by the drill bit exiting the wood. Not that it matters because it's going to be covered anyway, but it's just nice to try and get as good a finish as we can. And then I'm just going to sand this up, and then we're going to take a liming brush, which I better get out. And we're going to scrub the grain clean before putting some ebonising lacquer on it. So again, I'm just going to put the extractor on. Thank you, Terry, see you later. And thank you, M-Tech, for the compliment. Very nice of you. So I've done the 180 and moving on now to the 240 grit. And I am going to go up to 320 because we're not using any cut and polish now to finish the sanding process. So we want to make sure that we do a half decent job. There we go. Okay, so that is sanded up well enough for us to be able to use the ebonising lacquer. Note to make, if you were going to be using stains or embellishing wax without putting something like the lacquer underneath it, make sure that you sand this to as good a finish as you possibly can, because got sawdust dandruff. Because any scratches that you've got in there or any tool marks, especially with stains, are going to attract a lot more stain than the areas that don't have scratches or they don't have tear out, and you'll end up with like a really blotchy outcome. So make sure that you do a decent job sanding. The ebonising lacquer covers some sins to a certain extent, but not all of them. So we still do need to do a pretty good job of sanding, but it has to be as perfect as possible if you are using stains. So I've just got, this is the liming brush. It's a bronze bristled brush, and what we're doing is getting all that dust that we've caused by the sanding out of the grain, so that when we apply the ebonising lacquer, that'll soak into the grain really nicely, and then when we apply the gilt cream over the top, we'll get a really nice finish. So that is our base. So I'm just going to spray this. It's raining, isn't it? I'll have to do it in the corner. We'll have to open the door.
Joy.
Deep joy. Yeah, I will spray this up. Might as well do it on the camera.
Yeah, well, you might as well get your ass down and do it.
I'm going to do. Right, I'm not hiding from you with the box, by the way. Oh, I've got such a headache. Right, so this is my JSP power cap, and this is my preferred PPE that I use when I am turning mostly. But when I have a really bad headache, anything that squeezes my head isn't good, so that's why I don't have it on this evening. But I'll put it on for spraying.
Vacuum on as well, isn't it?
Pardon?
Put the vacuum on. Pan back. Put the pan back on while we're doing it.
Bye, Blake. I'm just trying to catch up with who's on. Okay. Okay, so pardon? So that is our spraying done for the base. I will be doing the same with the top section as well, but we will get to that in a little while. Pardon? So we'll go back onto the step centre now, and we've got the little top section to do. So I'm going to stick to ash because I want to keep that theme going through of the embellished grain. So this is 3" squared by 6 inches long, although it really doesn't need to be that length, but I am leaving it at that because I want to see how long it does need to be for it to kind of make sense. So I know that 6 inches will turn perfectly well over the unsupported, should I say, so we can make sure that we've got a decent finish. Okay. So because we are spindle turning now, I can now rough out with the roughing gouge. So spindle roughing gouge, and we'll just take this to round, and then we'll start putting in. We'll put a spigot on there, put it in the chuck, and then we can start giving this some shape. This is actually a really good thing that's just started to happen here. Basically, sometimes this is tightened up, is all this, but sometimes the vibration when you are turning can end up making your tool rest move. So this is all tightened up, no problems at all, but it's actually started to rotate in the the tool post. The tool post has started to rotate in the banjo, and it might be because I haven't quite nipped it up enough, but it can happen at any time really. You've got to be really careful, and it's just the vibrations that caused it to move. And as I've put pressure on this side, as you can see, it's tapered is the cut, so I've taken more of a cut here. It's just started to move the tool resting, so be very careful with that. I'm very aware of it when I'm doing really fine finial work, because it can just snap your finial completely. I've just dropped the paint tin over there, so I'll have to try and retrieve that in a little while. No, I'll get it. So that is now trued up, so we can pop our spigot on there now. So we're going to go back to the beading parting tool and put a spigot on this end, because you might not be able to quite see it, but there's a really deep check running through this. So I'm hoping that because I'm going to taper this off considerably, it's going to get rid of that. The check doesn't run through to this end, so this end is where the width is going to be of the piece. But as I say, we're going to chamfer it off there, so hopefully that will work. So beading parting tool, and then we can put our spigot on here. Same as before, roughly 1/4 inch. Dovetail it, or chamfer it. Ready to go in the jaws of the chuck. And make sure that you've got a really flat shoulder, that where it's going to butt up to the front of the jaws, it's completely flat. It really will mean that you've got as good support as possible. Let's have a look. Philip, yes, I do need a paint stick. You are dead right. I thought that I had one nearby, but I didn't, which is why the drill came into use. So I sprayed all the top and then used the bit. So it kind of worked. Crude, but kind of worked. Yes, Todd, I do. I really like using the two of them in conjunction with each other. I really think they work well. I'm just going to fish out the paint can from behind the lathe because it fell off the lathe, so I will be 2 seconds. What can I use to grab it with?
Can you hold you by your feet?
Hold me by my feet, yeah, something like that. Swap really long handled ball gouges are for, I do believe. Because I need that.
Oh, we're all waiting.
Got it. Reverse. Yay, retrieved. Put it on there this time. Right, so now is the time. I'm just going to re-tidy that up and re-true this up a little bit because it's gone slightly out of true when I've put it in the chuck, and I could spend all day sort of trying to sort it, but let's just take a tiny cut off. It's not even a millimetre out. That will do us very nicely. So next step, sorry, I'm eating sawdust. Bring the tool rest round and we need to tidy up the underside of this, and then we need to start thinking about fitting this to the glass ornament because this is going to sit on top. So 1/4 inch ball gouge just to, or 3/8 ball gouge for you guys over the other side of the pond. I'm undercutting like we did with the base. And I'm not sure how undercut I want this to be. So this is a total experiment, so I'm not quite sure how undercut I want this to be. Basically, we are going to be making a witch's hat for the top to go with our little Esmeralda who is going to reside inside. So this is the... Oh, come out. This is our glass ornament, which it's going to fit to. I try to make the fit go down to these little... they're basically air holes because you can put candles inside these and it just allows the hot air to escape and it stops it from cracking the ornament. So I kind of turn them down to the top of there. Sometimes you need to go a little bit lower, but just for aesthetics it's better off if it sort of ends around that area, and that's what we're going to aim for. And I'm going to go in using my spindle gouge to cut this recess. So I'm just going to clear the decks a little bit of unwanted or unrequired chisels. Move the tailstock out of the way, and this is what we are aiming for. So hollowing out with a spindle gouge, we want to make sure that the tip, when we have this absolutely dead horizontal, is bang in the centre. Now it's just a little bit underneath, a fraction, so we'll move that up. And the way that I use these is go straight in horizontally with the chisel flute facing about 10 o'clock, so we've got that 45-degree angle on there. Don't lift or drop the handle because otherwise it's going to change the height of the cutting edge. We don't want that. You can pivot it horizontally so you can undercut slightly, and you might see me do that a little bit, but what we're aiming for is going straight in at this angle. You can use a forstner bit if you want, but I try and keep these slightly tapered because the ornament's tapered. So that's what we are going to aim for now. Now we'll go onto the front camera because I will put my head in front of the other one. Now I'm not going to attack this particularly aggressively because we're unsupported over 6 inches and we're cutting end grain, so I don't want to put too much stress on the piece of timber or on the chuck. Mick, I've just seen what you've said. Maybe that would help my migraine. For anybody who hasn't seen Pat Carroll's latest coloured smock, it's kind of... well, it's basically hot pink. It's cerise. And I think it's pretty cool. But it's certainly vivid, that's for sure. So now we've got a little bit of a recess done, and as I say, I've done it at an angle. We need to start seeing if that fits, which we're quite a way off at the moment. We need to go a little bit deeper. Width-wise, I think we're pretty much on the money, so it's just we need to take that out a little bit deeper. So we'll go back in again with the spindle gouge. My t-shirt is Pat's undershirt. Yeah, Gary, I think it is. Although I thought Barney had kind of a pink and green thing going on. Right, now it's starting to squeal a little bit is the tool because we're using it over the tool rest a lot, and the way that your spindle gouge is manufactured, it makes it's quite a weak chisel, so it starts to vibrate and chatter and it makes it squeal. So I'm going to put that down and I'm going to swap for, where are my lowing tools? I'm going to swap for a carbide cutter. So it's not a scraper, it's not a negative rake scraper, it is a carbide cutter. It's Simon Hope's, it's the 6mm carbide cutter. Now this one has got a slight sort of bend to the cutting edge, which that's not required. A straight one would actually be better for this job, but I'm not going to change the tip. So we'll go in there and just finish the job a little bit. So we keep the chisel at that 45 degrees. And let's have another go and see if that fits. Where's the glass? There we go. Right, so we've got glass and timber butting up. I'm going to widen it a tiny bit. It's just a little bit above those couple of windows, so I'm just going to take a tiny bit out. But depth-wise, we're on the money, so we're fine. Now, you don't want a particularly... We're not after kind of a really tight fit on this. We want it to butt up, but then the rest of that we'll be putting some adhesive in there, so that will sort of fill the gap and join the two together. So I'm going to just go back to the spindle gouge, just because we're taking it out of this edge closest to the edge of the piece, so it wasn't overhanging too much. And we'll have one last fit. Yeah, that's much better. I'm happier about that, and that's not bottoming out in there either, so that's a decent fit. I'm happy with that. So now we can think about shaping the rest of it. Now, if you want, you can always make this into a little bit of a chucking point. I don't have my small jaws set up at the moment, so there's no point me doing that. I'm not going to be able to turn it round to finish the cut. But the shape that I'm turning, hopefully, means that by the time I'm getting towards the top section, it's nearly ready for parting off, and I'll have done most of the work. It's just how much weight's at this end, really, for how thin we can go. So I might have a little bit of hand sanding to do. Otherwise, make that little recess into a dovetailed recess here, so you can turn it round, remount it, and turn the top section. That's how I do the mushroom tops, but as I say, in this instance, we're not going to do that. So I'm going to start to remove some of this excess timber. So I've gone back to the 1/4 inch bow gouge. And then because we've already tapered the inside cut, it should mean we're not in danger of parting this off by accident. So I'm going to incorporate a little bit of a hat band on there, which I'll refine very shortly. Before I go too much further, I want to have a general look at the proportions of this and make sure that we're still heading in the right direction. So I think we can go a little bit thinner. Yeah, we'll go a little bit thinner with that, but I don't want to go too thin, otherwise it's not going to balance with the whole piece. So we'll take the hat band down a little bit more, put a little bit of shape in there, and then we can finish the top section. So we'll go in there with a spindle gouge now, just so that we get a little bit more of a refined cut. apologise that you can't actually see what I'm putting. Basically, we're just doing, you can see it okay, good stuff. We're just doing a sort of fairly flat hat band. I might put a little bit of an angle on it. Now sadly the spindle gouge is blunt. Or it could do to be a little bit sharper, shall we say. But that is pretty much all we need for the little hat band. I might adjust it slightly again, but for now that's okay. Just while we're planning everything out. Now because I can't turn left-handed, I am just going to finish that bead off with a parting chisel, just to make a gap big enough now that I can fit the bowl gouge in, and taper that off. Now this might end up looking absolutely naff, but I just thought it was something different, a different shape to play with, seeing as it's a little witch's house instead of a fairy house, just to make that definition. But you can stick with the Toadstool design if you prefer. Right, so now we're getting to the point that we're taking a lot of timber away from what will be the top of this hat. So we're reducing the strength of this enormously. So we need to think about finishing it. So I'm going to now do a quick bit of sanding all around here in this bottom section, and then we'll work on parting it off. And this is where we may need to do a little bit of hand sanding. So again, please excuse the extractor. Just taking that edge off because it's ash, so there's a good likelihood it might just fracture around that edge anyway. Keeping that abrasive cool, keeping moving it around. Just going to round that off slightly. $2.40. $3.20. And then we'll do the cleaning of the grain out separately, so we'll scrub this clean after we've finished parting it off. So I'll just bring the tool rest back up and we'll work on finishing chamfering this off to a point. And as I say, we might need, well, it will need a little bit of sanding by hand, but it should sand fairly easily, should the ash. Yeah, that's fine. So I'm moving to make room down both sides, from both sides of the timber, so from the side we wanted to keep our hat and from the waist side, so there's plenty of room for the tool to fit. And then I just keep coming back up and blending that cut in a little bit more, otherwise it's going to end up too tall. So it's more of a, it's a curve instead of a straight is this hat.
Everybody praying now it's going to come flying off.
Yeah. Everyone's hoping it's going to come flying off, definitely. I am praying it won't. So I'm going to cheat and we're going to support this a little bit. It's not there yet. But we can't forget that there's quite a bit of weight now, and it certainly is starting to react to being turned. Now I'm doing it like this, guys, just to try and reduce the amount of sanding I'm going to have to do. If you're not, and as I say, it's also because I haven't got my jaws set up to turn it round, and actually cut it off on the bandsaw and then turn it to a point the other way. So this is not the way that I would normally do it. There we go. So just move that out of the way. So we've got a little bit of breakout on top, but nevertheless we have something pretty much hat shaped. So really quick hand sand. I'm going to stick with going with the grain as opposed to around in circles. We're going to have a little bit of discrepancy when we ebonize this, but that is the beauty of using ebonizing lacquer instead of using a stain right now, because the stain will highlight all the little flaws, whereas the lacquer will kind of cover them up a little bit. Not much, but it will cover them slightly. So let me just see what I've missed. I don't think I've missed very much in the chat because you've been talking amongst yourselves mainly, which I can't blame you. So that's 240 and this is 320, and then I will spray this up and we can get on with turning our little Esmeralda. Now previously when I've turned them, I've done them in loads of different parts, and the reason being that I find it reduces loads of stress from having to actually it just reduces a lot of stress for staining it all, because everything's separate, so you're not worrying about staining colours, bleeding, etc. But for time I'm going to turn her in kind of one go, or I will attempt to. Now I don't like doing them in one run for another reason, and that's because I like to put the hats on at a jaunty angle, which you can't get when you turn it all in one piece. So it is what it is. Unfortunately, we've got to make do with the time that we've got, and I mean it's a quick way of doing them, doing a lot in succession. So at the same time, even though they might not look quite as quirky, they're still going to look good, and it certainly will reduce your time turning them in one. Oh, we need to make her a little cauldron too. So that's the grain scrubbed clean. I'm going to quickly spray this up, so bear with me a second, guys. Where's my other mask? That one won't pinch my head as much. Right, so Yeah, you could, Steve. You can use that. Is it raining outside? Right, I've just sprayed it outside because it stopped raining, so we're not going to be breathing in all those fumes. So so that's those two. Yeah, I know, I should have had a Blue Peter moment. But I like to keep you all on the edge of your seats and wait for it to all to come together. Otherwise, you'll just all end up going and watching football, so... So, where is my steb centre? So I have some tiny little pieces of sycamore cut. Where are we? And again, because I've not got the... I might mount this square actually. Yeah, let's do that. So I'm just going to mount this in the middle of the chuck. Just that square, a little square. And we'll turn it this way because otherwise it'll take me ages to swap jaws, etc. So we'll bring the tailstock up initially just to add a little bit of support. That'll do us. Now the great thing is these don't need to be perfect on the underneath of them, don't the figures, because you're never going to see the underneath. So this you get two figures out of this, and it's just under. It's about 3/4 of an inch square. Oh, no, it's not. It's nearly an inch square actually. Is that one? And so an inch square in sycamore is absolutely fine for doing a little figure, and it will it'll match up quite nicely with the inside. So as I say, I'm going to turn her all in one, and then I'll just make a little cauldron out of it. So 6 inches unsupported again is pretty much fine to work with. So first of all, we'll dive in there with the Spindle roughing gouge just to true this up. Now somewhere I have got a stepped tool rest, but I can't find it, so I'll have to use this at a bit of an angle. Right, now the noise that is making, that is not going to turn very nicely unsupported. So we'll have a dabble. Oh no, it's okay. It's not bad. So I'll just move this round slightly just to clean this edge. Now we've got a little bit of bounce on the piece because it's only an inch thick. It's not got a lot of support there, as you can hear. So I'm just clearing that wax off so that we can basically glue the figure down, and then I will change cameras and we'll come round to the side to start to shape this figure. Might do a cauldron first actually. Yeah, I'll do the cauldron first actually, because we'll turn that top section. It doesn't really matter too much if there's a little bit of bounce on there. It'll probably add to it looking like a metal cauldron. So I'm actually just going to cut this a little bit. Oops. Keep your bevel rubbing, Emma. And we'll just cut in there slightly with the parting chisel actually. Now I'm not going to go deep, I'm just going to go in about a 1/16 of an inch. And all that does is it just gives us a little bit of a platform, and it makes it look like there's something in the cauldron, because I use a little bit of glitter from one of the glitter pots that comes with the kit to make it look like there is something inside there, as I say. So I'll give you a close-up in a second when I'm out of the way. So I've just cut in there, left a little bit of a lip, and then we can shape the rest of it. So that's what we've got so far. So don't worry about sanding it in there, because we're going to be covering that with glue and putting a little bit of glitter in there. So we'll just shape this and we'll part it straight off. Again, this is the side we're going to see to an extent. We're going to just round this off and then part it through. So that's going to be our little witch's cauldron. So I'm just going to have to sharpen my chisels, guys, because I've knocked all of them on the side of the lathe, so please excuse me a moment. So, should have a spindle gouge now that we'll actually cut, which is delightful. Now I'm not putting a lot of pressure on this, with it being a little bit on the bouncy side anyway. It also doesn't help that it's not mounted in the jaws properly, so we need to be careful. So I'm just giving that a nice sort of cauldron shape. I'm just going to put a tiny bit of a cove in there as well. That's better. So it's not just one continuous positive curve. That's a better shape. So it's squeaking away because of it's not very happy. So quick sand with 24320 so that that's ready for again spraying. In fact, I might just use some spirit stain actually, with it just being a small item. No, that's my brand new grinder, that, Kurt. I don't think I've used it since I got it on YouTube. Yeah, it's a CBN wheel, and it's brilliant. It doesn't bounce everything off the workbench when I use it, so it's wonderful. So I took a slightly heavy cut there, and I've just knocked this out of centre, so I better just re-centre that slightly. I'll try to. That's even worse. Just giving that a tap, and I'm watching the space between the piece of wood and the tool rest, and I'm just tapping it where it moves away on the opposite side, just to try and just realign that a little bit. That'll do us, just so that we can part it off properly. So I've rounded that, and I'm happy enough that that's rounded enough to now part off. Now this might not part off very well. It's not gonna. So I tell you what we'll do, because we're not going to see the inside of this, then I'm going to bring up the tailstock to support it, because it's struggling a little bit. Now I'm not going to engage the outer teeth of the stem centre, just that inner point, but that should be enough to help, and we'll part it off to about 1/8 of an inch, and then we'll just snap that. So that's much happier now. So we're about 1/8 of an inch, so we'll just take the tailstock away, and we'll just twist that and break that away. That we're going to end up with a little bit of tear out, but carving chisel, sanding disc, something just to get rid of it is fine. And that little pip in the middle, that little hole in the middle, sorry, that's been caused, is going to be covered with the glue and the glitter anyway. So at least we've got our little bit of a cauldron, and now we can move on to turning Esmeralda. So we'll get the. I don't tend to like turning on one side of the tool rest, so that you're far away from the tool post basically. But because I want to be able to get in there properly and have the tool supported and not have a big gap, I've got no other choice really, because as I say, I can't find my stepped tool rest. So we'll go in with the 1/4 inch ball gouge initially, just to shape this slightly. Now we've taken off a little bit of the timber, so hopefully it's going to behave more, although it doesn't sound like it is. Right, so I was going to turn the hat at this end so that we can turn that to a point, but with it not behaving, I'm going to change that, and I'm going to make this the underneath. So I'm going to flatten this off again and bring the tailstock up again for support, because it's really not happy. Oh, now it is. Typical. So one flat base. And if you've got just a normal revolving centre, that would probably work a little bit better in this instance, instead of the stem, because you can really kind of bring that up and engage it properly. But again, I'm just going to bring that up without engaging the teeth, so it's still got the support of the point, which is all it would have with a normal revolving centre, but the teeth aren't digging into that edge and damaging it to the point you can see it. So luckily, because we've still got all the chunk of the wood here, it doesn't really matter too much, so we can shape this body. Oh, thank you, Pete. That's awesome of you. Let's give this cleaned up section. So body wise, I'm going to make it about 1.25 inches or so in height. Head wise, 1/2 inch roughly. And then we'll have the hat joining on there. So I've just very kind of roughly worked that out. And then it'll give us the opportunity to refine it a little bit more when we get the spindle gouge there. So I'm swapping to that now so that I can start to really create the shape that we're after. So usually I turn the head separate, the body separate and the hat separate, but because we wanted to save time, I'm going to do them all in one. Which personally I find a little bit more awkward sometimes. Just because if you get your proportions wrong, you've got no real room to adjust. So like I've cut the underside of the hat and I'm not sure really that it's in the correct place, but we've got no option but to go with it. So we will do our best. So I'm really turning that tool over so that the bevel's rubbing continuously. Make sure that bevel's rubbing as we make that cut in for underneath the hat. I've just undercut that ever so slightly, but we don't want to round it off too much or make it too much of a rounded off area at the top of the head, because we want to make it look like the hat sat on the head. Does that make sense? Whereas the neck area, we do want to slim that down so that it just looks kind of proportionately correct, really. Don't get me wrong, you can hardly see these little figures inside anyway, so I always go a little bit overboard for making them look as good as I can. That should do us. And then we'll turn the hat, so I'm just going to turn that down a bit because the brim's way too wide. Oops, let's mess that up. Just caught that slightly because we're not going in at the right angle. So we'll make the brim of the hat. Again, don't cut it too far in so that it's actually narrower than the head, because it needs to look like it's feasible for it to sit on top of the head. Yeah. Now again, we don't want to lose too much strength in this piece before it's parted off, because we haven't sanded it yet. So we're kind of getting there. She might be a little bit too tall actually, but hey ho. So I'm going to sand this quickly before we move on. Got a little bit of a flat spot there, but I'm not really too fussed about that. It's not much of a problem. So again, a little bit of sanding. So that'll do for our sanding, and that little flat spot actually I'm probably going to stick the little gemstones on there, so I'll just give it a quick sand just to neaten it as much as possible, and then we can work on parting this little lady off. Now the hat is proportionately way too big, but hey, not to worry too much. Yeah, let's take it down a little bit. So we need to be careful again because we're nearly parting off between centres, but we don't want to do that ideally. So I'm going to move the tailstock away and just start supporting that just while I make the last couple of cuts with the spindle gouge. Again, this is just so that I can reduce the amount of sanding that I need to do. So we'll give that a sand. That's terrible. I could do to take about a quarter of an inch off, if not more. 3/8 of an inch off is way too tall. Again, why I don't like turning them all in one piece, but not to worry. So let's get this little bit underneath the cauldron cut away. Give that a quick go over with some 320 grit, and then we can start to stain this little lady up and apply our gilt cream and decorations to the rest of the piece. So it's assembly time, guys. We're nearly there, nearly at the end of the road. So I'm just going to grab a carving chisel so I can remove that because it's quick. There we go. And now we're ready to finish this off. So I'm going to use some spirit stains for staining the cauldron and the little witch. We've already sprayed our base and top with ebonising lacquer, and we're going to put the gilt cream on there, and we've just got to put the whole thing together. So I'm going to begin with the spirit stains. Now I've just got some little paintbrushes here for applying the stain because it just makes it a little bit more controlled. They're a bit worse for wear with these brushes these days, unfortunately, but they work perfectly fine. There we go. I'm going to use that big one for the black. So I am going to just, yeah, we'll do in a second. I just want to prepare these two. So the green on its own is a little bit dark, so I want to mix it in with a little bit of yellow, which I will actually do with a cloth. So I'm going to use this cloth as like a mixing pad. So there we go. So I've just put some green and some yellow onto this piece of safety cloth just to mix it together. Now I have got pipettes that I tend to apply to extract the stain with. So I use a pipette to extract it with, and then I'll put it in like a little mixing palette. But failing that, we've got our little bit of cloth which we'll do. So that's just lightened it a little bit as adding the yellow in there. Now I'm not being particularly neat with putting the green on because the black will cover that really easily. Ideally, I would now allow this to dry, and then I would seal over the top of it with some finish, or even with some shellac or something. I like to use hard wax oil over the top of spirit stains, and if you finish it with that and very, very carefully apply it, so not slapping it on like I am at the moment, it means that it'll form a little bit of a barrier to the black that we're about to put on. This only really applies if you're doing it in one part like I am, but if you do it in two sections, then you're just going to be doing each bit on its own. What colour is that? That's my green lid. That's my yellow lid. So that's my black. I'm just going to put a little bit of a base coat of green underneath because I'm going to put green glitter in there. So any bits that I miss, it's not going to look too obvious. There we go, for a bit of speed. And then the black we'll apply with a slightly larger brush. And this is the bit where it will bleed slightly, so I want to be careful. Now, because the brim of the hat is really quite thin, what we might find is that by applying it to the top of it, it might soak through to the underneath. I don't think it is when I've had a look, which is typical, but not to worry. So I'm just going to really carefully apply that around there. I've already got a little bit on the face, but that can go to the back. Try and move a little bit of that. While it's still wet, you can kind of reactivate the stain. So actually it's worked out pretty well as that. I've managed to get rid of that overspill without any issue at all. So I'm not really applying this with much care on the body section because we want that quite nicely and evenly coated, but a really nice kind of solid colour. So a couple of coats of this will do it justice. But again, I'll just put the one on this evening so that we can move on. And I do like using the spirit stains because you can still see the grain underneath slightly. So even with a couple of coats of the black, you'll still see something through it anyway. So that's our little figure. So finish off the cauldron and then we can add the other bits. Now, it's personal preference whether you want to turn a little nose. I always do. I'm not going to do this evening because of time, and it's such a tiny faffy little thing that it's very difficult to see anyway. I think I did the little arms and nose for the fairy house version of this, so have a look on there if you want to look see about putting it together and fixing the arms and the nose on, etc. So have a nosy at that. I think it adds a little bit of character, and again, so in my opinion, so does turning the head and body and hat separately, but it does add quite a lot of time on there, so I understand why it might seem like a bit of a daft thing to do. Now once the spirit stain's dry, I'll stick a coat of wax over the top of the cauldron and the figure, just so that it's got some sort of protective layer. But now we get to the fun part, so we can now start to put this whole thing together and put our guilt cream on. Oh, the hat's still outside the top, isn't it? I'll do that. So, I've got a nice green glitter and a nice orange glitter. I've got a couple of black roses. I've got some Norwegian moss. We've got two little laser cut bats and a laser cut spider's web. Oops, and I just shot that across the thing. And we've got some sort of dark rainbow little rhinestones in there as well. There's 10 in the set, so that is the full set of everything. Oh, and of course our little witch's broomstick, because we can't have a little witch without a witch's broomstick. So first thing I'm going to do is put the guilt cream on. And I think because we've got this orange and the broomstick's more of a warm colour than a cold colour, I'm going to go for gold over the top. So I'm just going to use fingers and apply a generous amount of guilt cream over the top of the ebonising lacquer. And because we scrubbed the grain out before we applied the lacquer, the guilt cream is going to fill all these little recesses in the grain, and it'll give us a really, really nice effect. It's just something a little bit different. I do this a lot for snowmen because, I mean, I do appreciate this is quite kind of a festive thing to do, really, is the black and the gold, but I didn't want to just have loads and loads of black, because the witch's hat and body is black, and as is the base and everything. I mean, you could leave it natural wood, which is what I did with the first one, but I just thought I wanted to try it with the sizes of wood that I have available on the site, because I've had a few people contact me for sizes for doing these recently. So it seemed like the right thing to do. Now I'm a little bit torn. Yeah, we'll just do the whole hat. I was considering just doing the hat band, but to try and do that I'd have just got it everywhere anyway, so I'll just slap it all on there. No, I missed a bit with the lacquer, that's a shame. Put that to the back. And then once we've applied that, I'm just going to get a towel to remove the excess. I need to keep that nearby. Hang on. Just getting some adhesive, guys. I won't be a second. And a towel. Paintbrush. So I've got, this is just an old towel that I'm using just to remove the excess. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to see if I've missed anything in chat. I can't scroll back because I appreciate there's lots of chat been going on. But has anybody had any questions, or have I missed anything of great importance?
Anybody even watching you?
I don't think anybody is watching. I think they're just here for the social evening, which is fine by me. There we go. Oh, Umberto's arrived. Kevin's in.
If we're liking it so far, can we have a bit of a thumbs up?
Yeah, if we're enjoying this Halloweeny evening so far, give us a thumbs up. Or a thumbs down if you're not enjoying it. I'm not picky. Oh, Gary's watching, thank goodness. At least someone is. And John says he is, but who knows. Although it is raining in Spain, so he's no better to do, really.
Is it mainly on the plane?
It's raining on the plane, yeah. Mainly on the plane. I understand. Okay, so we've got one base, we've got the top section. I am going to add a little bit of something to there, which I'm going to do now. So I'm actually going to add... Oh, wrong camera, sorry. I'm going to add this little spider's web, and I'm going to put it as like a little embellishment on the front of the hat. I think that's going to look quite cool, actually. So I am going to use hot melt glue to do it because it's going to dry quickly. So I'll just turn that on. And bring my extension lead round. Now, hot melt glue is fine for wood on wood and little things like the embellishments and stuff. I'm also going to use the hot melt glue to put the moss inside the finished piece and a little bit around the outside, because we've got the problem that we've got the lights going up through the base and then into the front of our little ornament. So previously when I've done these, they've been slap bang in the middle because the bases haven't been as wide, but I just want to offset this because it gives you that scope to be able to do other bits and pieces in the front if you wish. So we'll start to assemble this while everything is drying and while the hot melt glue gun is warming up, because for actually adhering the glass to the wood, I'm going to be using this stuff, Soudal Fix All Crystal. It's a really good adhesive because it will glue wood, glass, metal, ceramic, all sorts of stuff, and it doesn't let go. The problem that you've got with a lot of glues, even hot melt glue, I wouldn't go near gluing glass and wood with hot melt because eventually it will let go of the glass. I know that we are going to be using it in conjunction with the glass in a little while, but it really it doesn't matter so much in that instance, but gluing it sort of more structurally, if you like, it's not really good for. So I'm going to take my little battery case, and this is the hook and loop tape that comes with the kit, which is double-sided. Make sure that there are no screw holes here when you apply this, otherwise you're covering them up and you won't get access to them again. I tend to spend hours of time painstakingly removing the screws before I send them out to people so that they're not in there and it doesn't cause a problem. But if I have missed it, then please do remove them. I've pushed the solder joint, which is encased in this little tube, right inside that 4mm hole as well, and the rest of the wire, sorry, the rest of the wire we just tuck away inside there. When we turn it round, it's not going to be a problem. So that is ready to feed into the top, this top section. Now I'm going to use the glue gun. Is that even heating up? Yeah. And I'm just going to flood this area. Now you could use the same stuff to do it, but it will be extremely sticky. Whereas the hot melt glue it dries very quickly, which is why I do like to use it for these projects. Now the moss, there's plenty of moss in these kits, so you probably have got enough to be able to decorate something else with if you wanted, or you could go for it and decorate a really big base or whatever. It's full of these little bits that I think are what the moss is grown on, and I'm sorry but they're not removed. You just got to pick through them very quickly and take them out. So get a bit of moss, let's move that out of the way, move all that rubbish. Just apply a good amount into the glass. Now it's going into this bottom section here, it's going to get hot, so hold it a little bit higher up, and then the next bit, just sort of proceed with caution, guys. So I'm just kind of flooding this base section with the glue. Now I've never had one crack the glass yet, she says. But that will enable us now to adhere the moss. So I just push that in there, try and get it covered so you're not going to burn your fingers, and just push it down so you get as good an adhesion as possible. Now it is live moss, is this, so it will dry in time a little bit, but and it'll shrink a tiny amount, but nothing much. And then once it's done its thing, it's done its thing. So that is the inside sorted. Now we need to figure out where we're going to put, which way is going to be the front and which is going to be the back. I think it doesn't really matter, so we'll go for this. Although there's a bit of a ripple there, we'll have that to the back. No, we'll have it to the front. So I'm going to take the string of lights. It's up to you whether you put these in at this stage or if you want to put them in a little while afterwards when you've applied the other figures, but sometimes I find that by putting the wires in to begin with, you can then move them around the figure as you apply them. So be careful because it's still hot underneath, is this. And just feed that in. It's really mouldable wire, so if it doesn't quite go where you want it to go, there's plenty of opportunity when we add the other bits and pieces in there to make adjustments. Now the little bit that we've got to hide is just this tiny section at the front. Now I'm still going to put a little bit of moss around this area, so it doesn't matter if we're going to bring that forward and cover it. There's no issues with that. Just make sure that it's working fully before you've done that. I've already checked this and it's working fine. So I'm going to offset this a little bit. So at this point in time, I think we will add our glue to the underneath and glue these two parts together. Now I have put gilt cream on here, and but I haven't put any wax on. I'm going to put that on right at the very end, which I never normally do. I normally take off the gilt cream with the wax, but because I don't really want a waxy top on here because we're gluing them together, I've skipped that step for now. So we'll just turn that upside down. Well, I know where it's going to go, so we'll just put a good squeeze where that's going to sit. And then we can just push that down. And that should be touch dry definitely in about 7 or 8 minutes, 10 minutes sort of tops. It takes 24 hours to cure properly, so if you get any overspill, you're not really going to see it, to be honest, so I'm not fussed with the base. But if you do get any overspill that you want to cut off, then cut it off with a Stanley knife blade after 24 hours. So that's nearly dried. I'm not going to glue the top section on yet because it's going to pull that around, but that is essentially what we're going to have on the top. So I am glad that I did the gilt cream because it just lifts it a little bit. If it were all dark, it'd be a bit difficult. She is definitely too tall, way too tall. So because we've got a larger base, we can always sit it on the outside and locate it out there. Again, you can use hot melt glue to attach things to the glass. Something like the broomstick would be okay. You might find it lets go. What I do tend to use, and it's very good, is gem tack, which is what I'm going to use next. I'll just grab the bottle and I need a pin. So this is gem tack, and that's fantastic stuff for gluing onto glass. It's used for gluing like rhinestones to fabrics and stuff. A lot of people use it for dancing and gymnastics and all sorts, for applying it, or to shoes. There's all sorts of applications for it, but it's a fantastic adhesive, is this, and it'll glue stuff to glass, but it does take a little while to cure. I tend to decant it into these tiny little bottles with like a needle applicator. It makes them really easy to work with. So we'll just take our witchy lady, and seeing as we've got that flat spot, it's not going to come out now. That's why I got a pin, because it does bung up these dispensers, unfortunately. I only unblocked it earlier today. Oh yeah, that's completely bunged up. That doesn't come out, we'll go to plan B, which is super glue or CA glue, which I don't like using because it leaves that white residue. So I'll just see if I can empty this out from the other side. That might have cleared it. Oops, so I'm just going to give her some little buttons with the rhinestones. So we'll have 3 little buttons, and I'm going to put one on the front of her hat, so that'll kind of match the hat on the top with the little embellishment we're putting on there. Now you can use like little pencils that are for applying rhinestones, and they are brilliant. They're very, very precise, but if you stick them to your finger and then apply it, you tend to be able to move those around a little bit. So a rhinestone on the top in line with those buttons. That's not in line, is it? And that will dry down fairly quickly, and that will leave us then, all we need to do is pyrograph a couple of eyes on there, but I'll probably just use a CD marker. In fact, I'll just move that with it. So we'll just give her a couple of eyes with this permanent CD marker. So that is our little Esmeralda. I just really think that they look much better with a nose there. I really don't like them without it, and I'm not a fan of drawing them, but it still works. With regards to putting the glitter in there, again, I'm going to stick to the gem tack stuff, or you can use your CA glue. That's if it's going to come out. It's blocked again. Wonderful. Right, let's forget that. They are brilliant at the needle applicators. Not that I'm convincing you tonight, but they are really, really good. It's just you've got to keep up to them. So I'll just flood that with some CA glue. Now we will probably get some white residue on the glitter, but not to worry. And then I'm just going to use a tiny little bit of the glitter in one of the pots. So I'll use the green one that I've chosen. There's loads of different colour options for the glitters with these kits. PVA glue also works fine for doing that, but that just gives it a little bit of sparkle, a little bit of something extra. So that's our cauldron, and then we've got to apply our spider's web. Which side will we have it? I don't like that side, it's a bit busy. So I'm going to use a hot melt glue gun, small blob on there. Apply that on the front. And then I'm going to take the gold, when that's dried in a couple of seconds, I'm going to take the gold gilt cream and my trusty dry brush, and I'm just going to highlight the web with the gilt cream. So I'm just applying a small amount. I'll grab some tissue. Tissue with bumps on or some sort of pattern is much better to use for dry brushing. And then all I'm doing is rubbing off the excess till only the bumps are being highlighted, and then we can just do a little bit of dry brushing just on that spider's web, and it makes it look a little bit more like a spider's web really, with that sort of glistening look to it. You could always do it in a different colour gilt cream. But one side where it's been lasered, they're quite darker these, so you don't really need to embellish them at first. Sorry, you don't need to ebonize them first, just doing it over the wood is enough. So that just gives it a little bit of something at the front. We've got these little laser cut bats, which I use the gem tack to glue them onto the glass with, but I will use the hot melt glue gun actually because it's quicker. So 1, 2. Well, it's quicker when I can't get the blooming gem tack stuff out of there. Oh, great. Problem with your hot melt, it dries super fast in small amounts. I'll give this one last shot. I don't really like applying it from the main tube because it's not as reliable. So the excess, I'm just going to push those two together to transfer some of that excess gem tack glue. And I'll leave them a little while before I apply them because they'll just slide down there. And then all we've got to do, we've got extra little glitter, you've got extra glitter in the jars, so I tend to make those part of the actual piece. So we'll put one just inside the entrance area. And if I was to have the cauldron, we'll have the cauldron outside and we'll have the other jar sort of laid on its side next to the cauldron, I think. And we'll have to have Esmeralda stood outside too because she's super tall. Where's her brooch? And that can be propped up. So the composition of the whole thing is totally up to you. Great. I personally tend to put a little bit of the moss on the outside, but I'm just trying to save as much time as I can because we've already been on a little while. But those are your main bits and pieces. We've got the couple of little roses that I'm just going to pop on the inside of the house. In fact, if there's a little bit of gold on those, I'll just highlight them ever so slightly. So I'll just put those in, and again you can glue them in or just place them. It's best to glue in as much as you can. There we go. But yeah, unfortunately she won't fit, she's way too tall to go in there. And then that's not far off dried, isn't the base, so, or enough so that I can put a little bit of glue on the inside of it. Sorry about this, I'm going to have to orientate it so that I can actually use two hands to squeeze the glue out because it's really thick stuff. So I put a nice good amount on that inside area of the hat so that you know it's going to really kind of take to the glass when you push it together, and it'll help fill that void that you've got between the hat and the glass. So I know that that's not particularly neat, but you want a good amount on there, and then just push that on and then twist that round so that it's facing the front. I wish I had put some moss around there. See if we can get a bit around there just to finish it off nicely. Should have done that before I glued her down, but it's thrown me because she's outside the area, so I'll just place some around there. Oh, it's still a little bit wet, is that anyway? It's not gonna dry. It's fine, honestly. There we go. That's better. That finishes it off a little bit better. I'm always worried that I don't put enough moss in, and actually I put loads in, so it's all good. There we go. I am going to do, I'm just going to make sure that nothing falls off, so that, I can't cope with her having no nose. I'm going to have to draw one on, even if it's going to look terrible, because she just looks weird. Oh, better put the lid back on the glue as well. Switch it on, switch it on! There we go. So there is our little spooky Esmeralda. And with it being a larger base, it just means that if, like I have done this evening, we've turned her a little bit too much on the tall side, I can't cope without him having a nose. You've still got the scope to put it together. So you've still got a little bit of a nightlight going on, you've still got like a little housey area, and yet you can see everything fine. So that is the one that we've done this evening. I'll just put the other one down next to it so you can see the alternative. Where is she? Where is it? Oh, it's there. There we go. So I've just pulled that away from there. Better glue that back on. That's the trouble with your hot melt glue, it doesn't really work on glass. Little things like that you can get away with, but not brilliantly.
Put the lights on the wall.
Put the lights on that one as well, yes, of course. So, now I much prefer Esmeralda. Oh, I've broken that off now. In this one. Oh yeah, and I did a little bit of gold leaf around her hat band. I didn't put a hat band on that one. But I think it's the nose more than anything, and the body's shorter, quite a lot shorter. So that maybe is about an inch actually. Sorry, it's about an inch tall, and that's what I've done wrong with this one. It's about 1.5 inches. but I always turn them separately. Now with this one I did use a little bit of metallic paint, the chestnut metallic green, just to give her sort of a little bit of an ethereal look, and I do quite like that over the top of the spirit stain. So yeah, I do quite like that sort of metallic look, but there you have it. So there's a couple of different ways. I really like the hat as a top. It just makes it totally different to the sort of fairy house look. And it works with a 3-inch diameter spindle blank, which is also really good news. So there you have it, guys. A little bit of a Halloweeny project, a little bit of fun, fantastic for sons, daughters, grandkids, etc., nieces. So they're loads of fun, and because of all the little bits and pieces that are part of the kit, there's plenty left over. I've got quite a few of the little rhinestones left because we've only used 4, so I've got 6. So you could almost put them around the entrance or around the hat. Just there's no point wasting them. Yeah, they are really, really good fun. And what I will do with this one that I've turned tonight is I will break off the Esmeralda that I've made tonight and remake a slightly better version. But I think I'll leave her outside for once. It's a different sort of approach to it. Thank you, Pat, Brian, Helen and Tom. I very much appreciate it. But yeah, they're good fun of these. Oh, I think Gary and Buster I've already covered somebody's question about spraying. I didn't really talk about it because I had to go outside. Oh, thank you, Paul. Yeah, short, sharp bursts when you're spraying. And as Gary and Buster have been saying, about 10 inches away. I was trying to contain it a little bit when we were using the box earlier. So I was a little bit closer, but don't sort of stand there with your finger on the trigger when you're spraying because you'll cause run marks that you won't be able to get out. And any sanding that you do on the piece once you've added the ebonising lacquer will then get into the grain, so you'll basically not be able to do the grain embellishing effect afterwards. So don't sand it. That's why I've just done 1 coat, and 2 coats is fine to do, but I don't knock it back in between when embellishing it. So, pardon? No. But it's been really, really nice, guys, to be back on YouTube. I've thoroughly enjoyed myself this evening. I'm sorry I didn't keep up to chat very well because I'm a little bit out of it with doing that. But hopefully, as I say, we'll be making them a little bit more regular again. So please keep an eye out on the website and on the Facebook page and on the Facebook group. For anybody who is here who hasn't seen me before, I'm the Tiny Turner, so you can find me as the Tiny Turner on Facebook, and Tiny Turner's Workshop is my little Facebook group. You are welcome to join. My website is thetinyturner.co.uk. I put all the information of things that's going on there. I mentioned right at the start that I'm finally got round to getting some courses underway, so there's 2 available at the moment. I am offering gift certificates, but I've got to wait for the physical certificates to arrive with me because I want something that I can actually send out, because I know that people like to give a gift, and they're really, really nice certificates of these. So they are available to purchase. But I'm going to be doing both a half day and a full day course. At the moment it's going to be tailored towards beginners, but we've got a massive programme for this coming year, 2021. So fingers crossed it goes better than this year, and there'll be all sorts of courses running. And the final bits and pieces of information about the venue, etc., will be released very, very shortly. It's in Murfield. It's going to be very close to the train station, so fantastic travel options there by rail and by car. It's really, really good. So yeah, I will update you all very soon. And please keep an eye out for the YouTube subscription to the channel, because there's going to be a lot more going on YouTube over the next coming months, so keep an eye out on that too. But it's been really, really good to be back. So thanks to everybody who's dropped in and been passing comments and having a natter with each other. I enjoy all that. So yeah, I do appreciate it. And yeah, Roy's had to disappear again, but his input's always fantastic. Although we've had a bit of a technical problem tonight, and he was unable to switch the cameras, so it was down to me doing it, and I haven't done it for that long. I kept forgetting, so that you could probably hear him in the background going front camera, because I did forget a few times. I'm sorry about that. But if you are interested in making one of these, the kits are available on my shop. They are in now. Everybody who's ordered one so far, they all went out yesterday, because I was waiting on a couple of components. So it says pre-order on there. Ignore that, they are now available. And you can buy the kits, the timber, the finishes that I've used tonight. It's all on there. So have a browse, and have a point system in place now. So every time you spend, you build up points, and then you'll get vouchers through and all sorts of things like that. So there we go. So thank you, Stephen. There will be, but not initially. So there definitely will be, and yeah, we are looking into that. So yes, because my tutor who taught me back when I started when I was 16, so like 20 years ago now, he was a seated turner. So it's always been a very important thing for me as that. So yeah. That will be updated, but the initial lessons, as well, due to the lathes, etc., and because the venue's not 100% ready yet, I'd hang on just yet, but it will be. Oh, thanks, guys. It's really nice. Thank you. Yeah, it's really, really good to be back. I've enjoyed it. I have missed everybody. I've missed the company. I've missed the interaction. So yeah, it's good to be back. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Stephen. And Ivor. And other Jeff. And if anybody has got any demos up and coming, just bob them in the... Oh yeah, Ivor, you've got to get in touch with me. I will send you those horrible tea bags. You are welcome to them. Oh, hi, Georgianne. I didn't see that you were in. Super duper. Oh yeah, and like Joy, as John's just said, please give me your feedback regarding the channel subscription, because I really want to make sure that people are going to get value for money. I'm so fussy about that, and if it's something that is not, you don't think it'll work, or you've subscribed to another channel before and it's not worked out, or any concerns you have, or anything positive, please let me know, because I really want to make sure that I am moving in the right direction for not just me, but for everybody else as well. So it's really important to me as that. So, see you later, Umberto. Thank you, Beverly. Alright, super Ivor, that's brilliant. That's good, that's good. I thought I'd turn that thing off. I think I've got about a 2-minute delay from YouTube to... from streaming to getting it back on YouTube. If not more, so I'm really sorry if I've missed things. I'm just going to give it a couple of minutes for the chat to catch up, and then I will end the stream. See you later, Richard. Again, I'm sorry if I'm missing people that have already gone. Oh, thank you. That's really nice to know, guys. I appreciate that. That's super. But yeah, I'm always open to constructive criticism as well. And if I end up doing a subscription and people don't feel like it's worth the money, please tell me. Good night, Jennifer. And yeah, Di, we need a conversation as well. Well, to continue our conversation, because we've got things hopefully in the pipeline too. So that would be that'd be great to catch up on again. Hi and bye, Derek. Nice to see you. Right, I think my chat's caught up, guys, so I will sign off. What I'll do is I'll hang about actually on the channel for a minute beforehand, so if anybody's asked a question that I've missed, I'll answer it. But thank you very, very much for bobbing along. It's been brilliant. It's definitely going to be increasing the YouTubes again. So look out for them. Subscribe, give us a share as well. That all of it helps. And yeah, I appreciate you all joining in. Bye.